Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we'll be taking a look at celebrated author J.G. Ballard in vintage Penguin and Panther paperback. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. James Graham Ballard, or J.G. Ballard, was born in 1930 and passed away in 2009. He was an English novelist and short story writer, satirist and essayist, known for his philosophically provocative works of fiction that explore the relations between human psychology, technology, sex, and mass media. Ballard first became associated with new wave science fiction for post-apocalyptic novels such as The Drowned World in 1962. He courted controversy with the short story collection The Atrocity Exhibition from 1970, which includes the story Why I Want to Ronald Reagan from 1968 and the novel Crash from 1973, a story about car crash fetishists. He's certainly a very collectible author, and I suggest if you want to know more about his work, head on over to my friend Steve, the Outlaw Bookseller's channel, where you'll find several videos from someone who actually knew Ballard and his work inside out. So I've been a huge fan of Ballard in paperback, and I've pretty much picked up most of his pre-1980 stuff now. It's sort of the second part of his career. I've yet to track them all down, so I'll possibly do that in a future video. But this time around, we'll look at the Penguin and the Panther stuff, and we start off with this Penguin one here. This is from January 1965. It's Penguin Main Series 229, and it does say, like a lot of them, that's the author photo there. It says the cover shows a detail from La Palais aux Rochers by Yves Tanguy in the Musée de l'Art Moderne in Paris. And very, very nice. It's sort of very typical of Penguin science fiction around this sort of period, with sort of these like nondescript or slightly like, abstracty sort of covers. I think Penguin at this point was sort of struggling a little bit to find their science fiction identity. Next, we got The Four-Dimensional Nightmare. Now, this one's from November 1966, which is the following year. And this is Penguin 2345 in their main series. And this one has got a cover painting by Giorgio Gondoni. I think, is that how you pronounce it? Gordoni. And quite funky. This is very typical of Penguin's cover output from this period. Very, very nice. And very nice indeed. A really nice edition of that one. Then we've got also from 1960, we've got The Terminal Beach. This one's numbered Penguin 2499 in their main series. And this one, once again, it's a cover photograph, but it's been sort of bleached. Sort of give it that, futuristic sort of look. A cover for Enzo Ragazzini was the cover photograph chap there. Obviously, that's short stories in that one. 12 chill splinters of unreality. And then the last sort of vintage one is The Wind from Nowhere. And this one's got a cover design by Alan Aldridge. Very, very funky. And there's several by Aldridge in Penguin science fiction. There we are. I just get a little credit on there. So I thought we'd have a little bit about Alan Aldridge since we're here. So Aldridge first worked as an illustrator at the Sunday Times magazine. After doing some freelance covers for Penguin books, he was hired in March 1965 by Penguin's chief editor, Tony Godwin, to become the art director of Penguin. Then over the next 2 years, he focused on science fiction book covers and introduced his style, which resonated with the mood of the time. And I think we can definitely sort of agree with that one there. It's very sort of 1967, that one. In 1968, he moved to his own graphic design firm, Inc., which became closely involved with graphic images for the Beatles and Apple Corps. Now, I am actually planning an Alan Aldridge video very, very soon. And apart from, obviously, his science fiction, he actually did covers right throughout Penguin's list, even Penguin handbooks and stuff. And I've got a pretty decent comprehensive collection, maybe missing just one or two of his Penguin works. So I'm going to pull the whole lot together. I think that'll make a really, really interesting video, that one. So there was just one more, which came a little bit later. This is May 67. This is The Drought here. This one is Penguin Main Series 2753. And this has got a cover design by Richard Hollis. Now, I'm not really quite sure what that is, what that's supposed to symbolise there. But yeah, Richard Hollis is his name. And that was The Drought. And these were the 5 books that Penguin had the rights for Ballard. There we are. So it's a pretty nice set, but they're definitely not uniform, are they? They're all, slightly different designs and published in different parts of Penguin's history, so they don't sort of look uniform. Now, that was until they got reprinted in 1974 with covers by the acclaimed artist David Pelham, and that's what we'll be having a look at next. So here's the first of the David Pelham ones, and this is Drowned World. And this is April 1974, so it's, as I said, it's just a reprint. And David Pelham did the cover artwork, and obviously this shows the Chrysler Building in New York. This is based on a photograph by Evelyn Hofer. Now, Evelyn Hofer had a book published called New York Proclaimed in 1964. Pelham had a copy of that book, and he sort of used it as inspiration. So it was a great shot by Evelyn Hofer of the Chrysler Building, and that's just what he used there. And of course, the idea of having like buildings and objects shrunk or half buried was not new. Don't forget, 1967 we had the first Planet of the Apes movie, which is the most iconic one I can think of, where we've got the Statue of Liberty on the beach at the end of the film and it's like half buried. So I think maybe that's one of the bits of inspiration that Pelham took. And we got The Four-Dimensional Nightmare is the next one. Now this one actually got reissued a bit later. This was like the last of the reissues in November 1977, and a couple of the stories were replaced from the original ones. So the Overloaded Man and 13-2 Centaurus were replaced with Prima Donna and Studio 5 The Stars from the previous edition. So they changed the actual stories in that one, which is a little unusual. This one's got like a 2-story buried TV with some sort of console in the middle. Very, very funky. And then Mickey Mouse and is it Yuri Gagarin on there? I mean, I'm not sure, but looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Now, Terminal Beach here. A huge bomb. Really, really cool, that one. And very, very distinctive style here by Pelham. Then we've got The Wind from Nowhere with the tank. Now, this one actually isn't buried like some of the other ones, but it's like it's just about to fall into, the earth, into the abyss. But yeah, and then the last one is, of course, The Drought. And this one's also based on one of those, it's a picture by the photographer Evelyn Hofer. And this is the Cadillac Coup de Ville from that very same book, New York Proclaimed. But David Pelham himself, as we get these out, he presided over Penguin book covers as their art director, and he took over from Alan Aldridge when he left, and from 1968 to 1979, and he also commissioned loads of other great artists and designers, as well as obviously doing his own covers as well, which is absolutely amazing. Now, there is one other bit to the David Pelham Ballard story, and that's this. So this is a rather funky slipcase set. So the slipcase didn't have Four-Dimensional Nightmare, but it did contain those 4 there. And but what collectors might be interested in is the fact that, of course, it's got this exclusive sort of cover there, and the cover apparently is an American bomber, very, very similar to the ones which bombed Nagasaki during the Second World War. And it's got like the payload that it would have had is already buried in the sand. But yeah, maybe this is the sands of the Terminal Beach. I don't know, but quite a funky little set that. Now, if you're collecting these, I believe that the original Penguin editions, the first printings, are a little bit easier to find in nice condition than these 70s reissues because of their black covers and that. These are just tough finds, unscathed. Now, I've actually got doubles of them all, and these, believe it or not, I've put into the slipcase. These are my best copies, and these, you can see the wear along the edges. These are very, very tough. The only way you're going to get them really like mint is to find them like literally unread, and that's a tough ask. But that's the set of the Pelham ones. Now, quite rightly, he was quite celebrated. I mean, this made a real sort of impact in the world of science fiction. And around this time, New English Library, of all people, actually produced a massive tabloid magazine called Science Fiction Monthly, and they feature David Pelham twice, and that's what we're going to have a look at next. Now, I've had to pull the camera right out because these magazines are enormous. If I put a regular paperback there, it gives you an idea. They're sort of double paperback size, you know, in fact, even a little bit more. So they were tabloid, is the way to describe them. And we got this lovely Pelham cover on the front there. And this is volume 1, number 9. So if you want to track this one down, this is certainly one of the issues to get. And as you can see, it's got the slipcase artwork around the back there. So it's like the reverse of the cover. Very, very cool. And that is that's the slipcase artwork in all its massive glory. And then quite early on, page 6 in fact, they have this article by him. So it's a double page spread. Got the same bit on the cover. And they sort of have a little overview of his fantastic Ballard work. Now, it isn't an interview. It's by AUAN Orn Butt was the author. It's actually really well put together. It's only a couple of pages, and it's not like an interview per se. It just sort of looks at it, but it's really, really well written. Now, this has been very expertly scanned on the rather excellent Penguin Science Fiction website, which I shall try to link to. I'll try to remember to link to that in the description down below. And I'll just go to the main site, and if you just look at any of the Ballard books in that sort of section, you'll find this has been very carefully scanned, so you can have a little read of it. There's a couple of other really interesting articles there as well. So yeah, it's just those 2 pages, but also the wraparound cover as well. Absolutely fantastic magazine, Science Fiction Monthly. It's superb, and I have done a dedicated video on that, which once again I'll try and link to at the end, because it's just fantastic. Now, there was one other issue of Science Fiction Monthly worth looking at, so I'll just dig that out now. So that's this one. So this is volume 2, number 10. This is a little bit later, and I pulled this one out because it actually has an interview with Ballard in it. So if Ballard is of interest, page 9. And the interview's by James Goddard and David Pringle, a name you might recognise. And here we are. So there he is. Oh, Ballard there. Look at that. It's just brilliant, isn't it? What a lovely piece of artwork that is. And this is a proper interview. And of course, they reused some of the Pelham artwork to illustrate the interview. So I thought you might be interested to know about that as well. That's Ballard's contribution to Science Fiction Monthly. So 2 really, really great magazines that you may want to just pick off those odd issues on your travels. Right, next thing we're going to be looking at then is the Panther editions. Okay, so this was the first one by Panther, and this is from 1966. And this was the Crystal World. The Panther edition was published in 1968. This is actually the 1970 reprint, but the cover is exactly the same. So this is actually the second printing of Crystal World. Next, we've got the Day of Forever. Now, this is very similar. This is a bit more, the familiar sort of Panther science fiction look that was happening at Panther around this sort of time. Got the Panther Oblique. Clearly says Panther science fiction there, and there's several books in this sort of style around that sort of period. This is from 1967, when that was first put into Panther. Then we've got Disaster Area. Now this is the original printing from 1969, with the sort of the bird there on the front. Very, very nice. John Dove did the colour illustration on that particular one. And then that's the later reprint of it, of the same book. And that reprint was from 1973. That one. So that's Disaster Area. Next, probably one of his most celebrated covers of all. And you could say almost iconic in the world of, sort of vintage paperbacks. This is a real tasty one. This is for Crash. Now, Crash came out in 1973, and this is the first paperback from 75. Very, very beautiful. Chris Foss, there he is, credited. Beautiful, beautiful cover to this book. I mean, that is almost iconic. And these next few, I think, are all very, very sort of collectible. We've got High Rise from 1975. This was also, yeah, Chris Foss jacket on that one. Absolutely beautiful first printing. Then we've got Vermilion Sands. Peter Jones was the cover artist on that one. Once again, absolutely corking, that one. And Concrete Island, not so good, that one, I don't think. Richard Clifton Day was the cover artist. Not quite as iconic, that one, is it? I mean, still really nice, but perhaps not the best. And then we've got 2 editions of the Atrocity exhibition, and that was first published in 1970. This is the Panther from 1972, which is very, very nice indeed. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful book, that one. Doesn't say who the cover artist was on that one. And then that one also got reprinted with a new jacket in 1979, and that's that one there. Once again, no cover artist was listed on that one. So that's my collection of vintage Ballard up to about 1979, 1980. Obviously, there's still some good stuff to come, yet to be published, but I thought we'll have one last look at these delights before we finish the video off. I said, do look out over the next month or two. I've got a dedicated video coming on David Pelham and a dedicated video on Alan Aldridge as well in vintage paperback. Both did quite a bit of work for Penguin. Leave the rather funky box set at the back there. Let's slide that in. And we'll have a last look at the Penguin jackets as well. Very, very cool indeed, these. Yes, excellent stuff. So if you've enjoyed this video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content. And I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.